Do you feel like you're never making it on time for objectives? You feel like you're getting shot out of the game, never able to have a team fight, always falling behind and starting to lose? Well, there might be a simple reason for all of that, and it's actually called rotations. So today I'm going to cover 3 rotational strategies that you can use to instantly improve your rotations and feel like you're a lot more impactful in the game. With these quick tips, I think that most players will be able to just get a lot more activity out of their gameplay and usually end up increasing their damage and their participation in the game of Pokemon Unite. But before we begin, just a quick reminder, I'm Suluwu, played in the 2024 World Championships in Hawaii. In addition to this, I've played thousands of hours of Pokemon Unite, been playing since the game's been launched, and my goal here on YouTube is to share with you the most informative and knowledge and lessons that I have learned through my experience in time playing the game, so you guys can get a hand up and not have to go through all the trials and hard times I've had to go through to learn all these. So if you like the sound of that and you think you're excited for another video, please, as always, smash the sub button, leave a like, and leave a comment on what you'd like to see next. So let's get right into it. How are we going to understand these 3 rotational strategies? So first, we need to understand what rotations are. It's pointless learning about a strategy if you don't know what it is. So rotations is the simple idea of moving across the map. It's just basically a fancy word for like how you're moving. The mathematical way of looking at things is actually a Euclidean path, and you learn this in like a certain branch of mathematics where it talks about like the distance it takes to do stuff and to get to a certain location, and if you have to forcefully go through certain things. So I'll give you an example on the map here. I just don't mind the pink, or it's the yellow I think in here. But like you could be going to this Audino, to this Audino, and then you want to go mid. Now, is this the most efficient way? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But that's something that you have to think about while you're doing that pathing, and that's basically a rotation. I'm rotating to the middle via the top lane, via cleaning all of the Audinos that are available if that path isn't broken. That is the act of a rotation. So you're now wondering, okay, but how am I doing these rotations wrong, Sulu? Like, I mean, I'm just getting to the fights late, or, you know, my teammates are just initiating before I'm there, or people aren't paying attention. Well, that's why rotations are so important, because maybe you weren't clearing effectively. Maybe you weren't acknowledging that rotations don't just apply to you, but applies to everyone in the game. It's a constant and ever-living thing that you have to change your rotation according to your enemy. And it's why you might see that in some very high-level games, let's just rub this out, in some very high-level games, something I've been seeing is the junglers dueling in the middle at like 9 minutes. And the reason they do this is because the vision control and also playing for objective speed is so important. The permanence of being able to go to a lane where your enemy jungler isn't, force it, and then get your score, get your attack rate, or whatever you're trying to do there, and push the pace of the game in that way is so powerful, so threatening, that the enemy jungler is like, well, actually, I kind of want to match you, but I don't want to reveal myself, because if I force myself into a 1v1, it could be a lost situation. So then the tanks come up, or the supports come up, and that's the ever-evolving game of Pokemon Unite, and the change in rotations, understanding more about the intricacies and strategies. Because you don't need to be in the lane at 9 minutes to have a good rotation. You could come at 8:51, just before the birds spawn. And when the birds spawn, then you can do something. It's no different, unless you're going to try to force a kill off the pad. But if there was a kill off the pad, well, maybe the opponent wasn't wary of your rotation. So as you can see, it's ever-evolving thing. So, all right, now that we understand a little bit more about rotations, I'm going to take you through the 3 rotation strategies that I like to use. 2 are for XP share characters, and 1 are for non-XP share characters. The reason why that I've broke it down and revealing these ones for XP shares and non-XP shares is because with XP share characters, your rotations matter a lot more. To simply put, XP share characters don't necessarily take farm, and they don't like to do Audinos or these wild Pokemon by themselves. They like to do them with teammates. So their rotations are highly based off where your team is, where the enemy team is, where the enemy team is moving, and where your team is moving. For example, and let's just grab a Snorlax, or let's just grab a Wigglytuff. If the Wigglytuff is sitting here in top lane, its main goal is just to watch over this area at the moment. Or maybe it could be to engage on the pad, or maybe it could be to get more vision out here, or maybe it could be to defend the pad, defend a jungle invade. It has a lot of options. There's options available, and that's where rotations become difficult and hard to control, because you need to go and now make the right decision read. It's a decision-based movement, right? A decision-based game as well. So when we look at this sort of situation, where should the Wigglytuff go? Like, if we're looking at Wigglytuff, I'm going to quite frankly and quite simply say, like, look, If the Wiggly pads on toughs on the pad, and it has teammates that are already pushing into here, you know, when's the spawner on this? Is it 8:50 or like you know? I think it's actually 8 minutes. Like if it's 8 minutes, like is it time to go, or is it time to actually invade and get scouting vision? Or could I run into bot lane and force a 3v1 situation because maybe the tank's gone up? These are all situations that the player needs to think about. So going into how we're actually going to use XP shares, this is the strategy. You're going to have a team situation where usually 2 people are already going to be stacked on a lane. One person going to be taking jungle, and one person is going to be in the other lane aside from you. So the Wiggly exists in this sort of situation. In this sort of situation, what we want to do instead is think about Wiggly as, okay, well, I'm leaving this person in bot lane, right? What do I do? I have one person going to jungle. They're going top as well, likely. Most of the time, that's a rotational push. If they go bottom, what's the difference? What's the change? Wiggly wants to be near someone who's getting experience unless they're fighting. And if they're not fighting and they're not getting experience, what does Wiggly want to do? It wants to get vision. So you have 1 of 3 priorities. XP, fights, and vision. So when you think about it like that, what does Wiggly want to do? If there's no fighting and there's no farm to take, it's going to take vision. The thing is, you don't want to die because vision precludes fights. Vision is before fights. You see someone before you fight them. You don't just fight them like you don't walk into a bush and go like, you're not going to do that. It's just not happening because you don't see anyone there. You can cast a spell, but you're not going to knowingly know, oh, I'm going to fight. That's not happening. You might be aware they could be there. You might be ready to fight, but you're not knowingly going, yep, this is a full-on engage. I'm going to cast every single ability I have in the bush, and they're going to die. Without even seeing them. No one is doing that. Not even the luckiest or even the most insane player in the world. So, when we look at the situation, vision precludes fights. So, Wigglytuff is going to get vision. However, as we talked about rotations, if our rotations are 1 person here, 2 people here, and 1 person here, we can just safely assume that the other team is doing the same thing with Wiggly floating as well. If they're not floating, they'll be on the map, right? Because your person here might be farming or getting vision as well. So you now know where the imbalance is. Because once you relieve yourself of the situation, that's when the ability to have imbalance happens. Because very quickly, if these 2 candidates on their team went to the bottom lane, it's a 3v1. And if these 2 candidates in the other's team went top, it's 4v2. It's about creating imbalances. So this rotational strategy is very simple. I go where the jungler goes, I call it. So that's rotational strategy number 1. If I have a jungler, let me just grab a Cinderace. Wherever Reboot goes, I go. That's how I want to do. I play with Reboot. I play as the eyes, the ears, the senses, the ground, the nose, everything around Reboot. If Reboot is going top lane, I clear top lane. I check bushes. I get extended vision up here to see these lanes. I do everything for Reboot. And when Reboot is clearing the farm, I try to be around him to clear it. And as he moves, I try to move away. Just trying to get him the extra space, extra vision, extra control. Understand? When I move, they move. Right? That's the whole concept of this. If Reboot is going top lane, you go top lane. If Reboot is going bot lane, you go bot lane. But now all of a sudden you have like a tandem synergy. Now you're saying like, what if Reboot dies? Well, then you go and attach to someone else. It's the same thing. When I move, they move. However, it's not saying stand on top of them. I'm saying play with them. As I said, just to explain this one more time. If they're going here, you're going like into this bush. You're going into this bush. You're looking around. You're getting control. You're getting vision. You're peeing what you see. You're looking to peel and engage. You're not playing on top of them. You are coming back for XP when there's nothing there. But you're getting vision. You're creating the tempo of the game. If the player does not help you at all, that's obviously going to need a different strategy. And that's why we're going to talk about a different strategy, because you might be thinking now, oh, but like the Reboot never goes to any fights, so the both of us aren't doing anything. Well, look, there's 2 ways of doing this. If the Reboot is never going to any single fight, it might be because the player doesn't think that they have the fighting potential. It could just simply be a ping or anything to do to change their mind. They might be able to do more in the game. However, the other side of this, and the interesting way to think about it is, well, okay, maybe this character isn't ready to do that. And then now you need to say, okay, my support mode has got to shift from the strategy 1 to strategy 2. So we have strategy 1 here, strategy 2 here. What's strategy 2? As I said, one of the styles is to mirror wherever this guy, the jungler, goes, because the jungler is generally the free guy. He's the free guy in the game. He's going to be able to run to the jungle, clear, and then go to a new lane, create imbalances. The next strategy is actually called mirroring. And that means that wherever the enemy team's jungler goes, you are preemptively going. How are you meant to know this, Suluwu? Like, I'm not a mind reader, I'm not telepathic. Well, actually you are, because you're going to get vision. You are now going to say, okay, well, if this guy isn't going to do anything, I'm going to create the tempo of the map, because the enemy team isn't going to go where no one is. So one type of rotation is now, as I said, we get aggressive positioning in these sort of bushes, whether it's here, here, you know, even here, like wherever. But basically, you want to be on this sort of dotted side of the map. Yeah, you get it? Like you want to be looking at their side of the map. Once we're looking at their side of the map, let's just clear this because there's a lot of clutter. Once we're looking at their side of the map, then let's just move the Wigglytuff here and then remove this guy. I don't want to save the image. Grr. Anyway, once we're looking, we can see what jungle buff is getting cleared, and you can preemptively start popping. Now you're going to know that they're going to be objectives at 2 minutes 30. Every 2 minutes 30 past 7 minutes. So as I said, you're expecting objective at 4:30. You're expecting objective, and I think it's 7 minutes, 2 minutes, and so it's around 4:30 and around 2:30 is going to be the next objectives. It's at 2 minutes, by the way. Don't get that one mixed up. I always get it mixed up. Basically, you know that there's going to be 2 big fights. That's when the rotation is going to shift. But before that, it's like obviously you don't want to rotate into nobody, but you're going to have 2, 1, and 1. If these two group up together and you see the enemy jungler coming here, you just go here to stifle the play. People don't understand how important it is to stifle people's plays. If the enemy is playing a perfect game, let's just grab Delphox or something here. Delphox takes this, goes like this. As I said, this is a C clear, and then they go into the bot lane because they're going from the C clear, and they're using this to hopefully push the pad. If your job as the Wiggly player, and let's just change the color here so you can understand. As the Wiggly player, what is your popping? Well, maybe you got vision here. You saw 2 on the pad, saw no push. We start running bot lane for the defense. If your job is to solely annoy, disturb, control the game, you're actually taking the agency away from that jungler, because that jungler is expecting limited defenses and being able to push throughout threats. Because what happens next is if your team rotates as well, which obviously, as I said, doesn't always happen in rank, but this is preemptively creating the right brain for this. You are mirroring the jungler, you are controlling their popping, and now, who's actually in control? You are. Because you watch them clear the objective, and you know which way they're going to pop. And if they don't pop that way, then you have an advantage in members. If there is an advantage in members, you back off. You don't need to force a fight when there is none. But you understand, this is a different type of rotation. It's called the mirroring type of rotation. So remember that. Now we know the strategy. Where you go, I go, mirroring. It's just literally the same strategy, but just for different players. One is like, I'm the goalkeeper, and the other one is like, I'm the midfielder, if you play soccer. Or in basketball, it's like defense versus offense version of the same role. Like, you know, you're shooting guard, you're defending everything, and then you're a shooting guard on the offensive end. It's like you're shooting freeze and you're slashing through the court. That's more like a power forward, really. Anyway, okay, so now that we talked about, well, basically the agency and the XP shares, and obviously this isn't all the strategy. There's so many advanced rotational strategies I'd love to share with you more, but we need to go into like the general basics first. Now that we go into that, well, what are carries? Because like I was saying, like, you know, do really supports just get complete agency? Well, now carries get agency on a different end, because you're gonna see the big difference between carries. Carries have to take farm. Like it's a compulsory activity. Taking farm and creating kills are the most invaluable things for carries in terms of XP. If they don't get any kills in the game, they're pretty much capped around like 13. You get 13 and then 2 12s. If there's no XP and then everything's cut evenly, the whole teams are going to be pretty low leveled if there's no kills. When kills and scores get involved, you can get 14s and 15s. So you are trying to get kills and scores. Don't let anyone get you confused. Rayquaza is super important. I'll dive into another video, but don't get anyone confused. Kills and scores are super important. Not as important as farming. So it all comes down to remembering the priorities. Like we're talking about, if you're a carry, what's your number one priority? XP. XP is going to come the easiest form of farming. Then, what's the next easiest form? Scoring. Like, guys, don't get confused. Killing players, like I said, super important because it creates scoring. However, if you can score without killing anyone, please do that. It's the no-brainer. No-brainer. You don't need to kill them. You don't need to kill them. I know that you can have a fantastic game. You can have 20, 50, 40 kills and feel like a phenomenal player. But as a better Unite player, once you get better, and once you become like a smarter player too, you're gonna realize, oh, well, kills actually aren't always available. Kills are harder to achieve, and they're really just a test of my mechanics. Or most of the time, if I can make a play where there's no one's life involved, and it is just simply me moving better across the map, farming better across the map, I am going to be in the winning position. And I have some VODs of 1v1s and explain. It's the same concept. Like 1v1s is basically a mini test of rotational on the small end. Limit mechanics, punish decision making. And this is what Pokemon Unite's about. Limit mechanics, punish decision making. So, all right, now that we understand that, let's dive into actually the rotational front, because we're thinking about XP. We're not thinking about the other alternatives, what carries do when the farm is gone. That's a whole nother video. But let's think about farm. Okay, we've lost this pad. This is a very common situation. 2 pads lost on both teams. How do we think about the map, right? Let's just change the color yellow so we can see. When you respawn here. If you're gonna jump into jungle, which is generally what most people do, and there's the most XP in the buffs, we're gonna do the buffs. Where do you go from there? So like, if you do the buffs top side, most people start to look top side. If you do and it's inversely so when you reverse it, right? So whatever buffs you do, you're gonna want to go into the lane that you finish them on, like the closest lane. Is that the best strategy? So this strategy for rotations is called link up, objective, and disperse. This is very simple. You now, whenever you respawn, you want to make sure that instead of jumping long, if your teammates have not cleared, yeah, you guys following? If your teammates have not cleared these farm, you're gonna run into the lane instead. So this is a no-go. Let's just change it to color. No-go. Do not jump there. Why? But like SP, no. You need to get rid of the Audinos, they're more XP. They're way more XP, they come back shorter, and they're closer to your base. The jungle is not a safe area. Sure, it's generally safe, but it's not a safe area. It's way faster, and as I said, you're already in the lane, you're already ready to make a tempo play. If you're stuck in the jungle, it might appear like you're closer. You actually are not. This is something I see often, and honestly, even I struggle with. Jumping the jungle on my clear double objective, and I run it. I could have just cleared all the Audinos, and then I come into the jungle to wait for the next play. Anyway, as I said, that idea, it's like clear, identify, and then destroy. It's clear, identify, destroy. SID. Let's just call it SID for now. Okay. So when we're using SID, we're clearing the lane, right? We go to, oh my god, where are these settings? Take me away! Close toolbar. Oh crap, okay, we lost that. Unlucky. Take me away from the settings. And looking at it like this. So what do we need to do? So we're doing SID, right? Like we've got this, and then we're pushing down this lane. And then we're like, Suluwu, but like now, okay, I took my farm, I have an ultimate. Where should I go next? XP is your top priority, so you're gonna battle over XP. If you have an objective, so you need to identify 2 things. Bird spawning, bird spawn here, 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 and then, you know, these areas too as well, when pads are broken and stuff. But that's just something I want you to think about right away. Like, as I said, here, here, here. I just want you to have these, because these are the fighting locations. You should and will and have to be happy to burn Unites over birds, because that's a lot of experience that is contested. It's a happy experience. Like you get a mini fight, and then you're gonna have the major objectives in 2 minutes. So, with all these things considered, those are where you're gonna fight now. So you clear your lane farm. Once you clear your lane farm, as I said, SID, clear, identify. Where is the next big fight? If no one is there, I'm gonna clear and then run to the next big fight. Think about it logically. Whatever lane you go into, you clear all the chances. So it's like, you know, if this is gonna be, and let's just erase this. This is in 2 minutes, right? Now this is where it's important to start thinking. And like, as I said, this is where players struggle. Like a lot of people I coach struggle with this. Clear. 2 minutes. Okay, 2 minutes, and we see the 30-second timer on the bottom objective. Okay, so 30-second timer. What happens? Well, actually, I know as well that this is gonna spawn too. So I'm gonna clear here. I'm gonna run here. I'm gonna tentatively just look it out. Just see, identify. Is this gonna need to fight? We cleared it without anyone coming. There was no fight. Cool. But then the next concept's like, okay, well then we're likely to have a regieleki. Let's just do the objective and see if they come. And if they come, the moment they come, I'm ready to fight. Clear, identify, destroy. Done. Clear, identify, destroy. Clear, identify, destroy. And you run around the map doing that to the closest perimeter of you. This is not perfect rotations. I'm not saying do this every single game. If you want to fight XP and you want to come back and you want to get better Unite, this is the easiest way to do it. Clear, identify, and then destroy. Because the secret part of Unite is looking at the objectives that are not the actual wild Pokemon, it's the paths. And how do we do those now? Because as I said, if you're clearing, you're identifying, you're destroying, you might not be actually pushing a path. That's obviously for another video. Unlucky, I'm sorry guys, I would love to reveal all, but this is pretty much a simple guide on rotations, the 3 rotational strategies that you can apply to any game that you play right now, and understanding a little bit more about like what your support should be doing, what you should be doing if you're playing a carry role, what you should be doing as a support role, what your carry should be doing if they're a carry role, and complementing that all together with a little bit more understanding. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. We've gone into a lot of like theoretical concepts here, so I hope you enjoyed and have a great time. Bye.